then they got to be a commodity, right? Because the thing about it is like this: if you ask it, if any of you all ever dated a black man, right? If you ever dated a black man, let me tell you a secret. The thing about it is this: if you date a black man, if you go out on a date with him one time and he don't call you back, I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna break a black man's rule, but I'm gonna tell you why. Right? The thing about it is like this: the first thing they're gonna do is they're gonna take you and they're gonna walk up to their boys and they're like, hey, yeah, this is my girl, such and such. And if the boy don't be like, damn, she fine, he gonna leave you alone. He gonna leave you alone. Y'all laughing, but it's true because it gotta be a commodity, right? So the thing about it is like this is what the black man internalized on what a black woman is supposed to be like, right? So the thing about it is if you got those two dynamics going on, what happened? They started clashing. Because the thing about it is you don't represent a black woman like I think you're supposed to be, because as a black man, I'm supposed to dominate and control you, right? Because of the intergenerational racism that's been going on with slavery that's been carried down, so they substitute a maladaptive thought system on what a black man's supposed to be, right? And then the same thing going on with the black woman. Because they got this dance night called twerking. They trying to say it's from Africa. You didn't know they're going to be saying England muffins are from Africa. But when you look at intimate partner violence, when it comes to the African American community, there's three dynamics that you need to look at, right? The structural, the cultural community, and the situation. Okay? Now, the thing about it is like this. There are basically three forms of racism. Okay? There's the institutional. Josephine, what's the second one?
Cultural community.
You had multicultural counsel with me and I talk. The first one is institutional. Institutional is the system that's been designed, like the prison industrial complex, the educational system. Well, when you say prison industrial complex, you got to talk about the whole criminal justice system. The educational system. These things have been designed, in essence, to keep people of color back. Right? So like, when you look at the institutional, that's when you're going to look at a macro versus a micro. The difference between a macro and a micro is a macro is on a higher plane, so it doesn't affect you so much personally, right? But it affects the community. A micro affects the person personally, okay? So there's institutional racism, individual racism, and internalized racism. With the structural context, you're talking more on a macro level when it's more institutional. So these institutional systems help design frustrations that causes some of the behavior that you see in intimate partner violence. Now, little side note, I'm talking someone who is either not cognitively delayed or have a mental health issue as far as a mental illness. Okay? But these historical patterns in America, with their oppressive nature, has caused an overabundance of unemployment, undereducation, right? And then also when we go back to the system of post-traumatic slave syndrome, it's also called an intergenerational system of internalized racism. Okay? Still early in the morning. Okay? So these are more on a macro level. These are closer to, a little bit closer to the micro. Even though they're still macro, but these are closer to the macro, because when you look at the social community context, what you have to understand is that a lot of African Americans, men, socialize that a black man has to be superior to his woman, right? And he got to control and he got to dominate, right? So with all those media institutionalized racism that's going on now, by them internalizing all this stuff, when you look at the culture and the community context, you have black men who feel that they're supposed to be dominating and controlling, because the fact of the matter is, outside of the home, they have no power. So when they come inside the home, they feel they have to have power, right? A perfect example of this is, I bought cable when I got out here, right? Because you all don't have no regular independent channels. They just throw that shot at Fresno that one last time, even though I think it's like around about 90. But y'all don't have no really regular independent channels. You just watch TV anymore, because where I live, you used to just watch TV, but now the cable company did something where you got to buy a box just to watch regular TV. Hell, I might well get cable. So I'm flipping around watching cable, and this movie come on called Battleship. I didn't hear this movie before. I'm thinking, now what they gonna be doing? Sitting around playing? You suck my Battleship food, you know, B4, A8, you know what I'm saying? I'm just watching it, and then all of a sudden I see Rihanna, right? And so I see Rihanna, I'm thinking, okay, well, she gonna sing it sooner or later. She gonna start singing, because every time Chris Brown in the movie, he sings, right? And I knew they used to date, right? I knew they used to date, but she never sung. But see, the thing about it is this: when you look at the character of Rihanna and Chris Brown, the thing about it is this: when you listen to Chris Brown's explanation of what happened that unfortunate night, all these dynamics come into play. Didn't know his father, internalized what a black man's supposed to be. She admits she hit him first, but brothers, I know.
It's awesome.
So I knew, you know, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. What the heck gonna be trying to call me? It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Lord. The messed up thing about it is this: I got a couple of my students in here, and the first thing I do is tell them in class that if I hear your phone ring, that's 10 points off. But if you hear my phone ring, that's 10 points. But anyway, the black man internalized because of the culture in the black community that they sort of dominate and control their wives or their girlfriend, right? As far as being a black male, the culture context, you get a status symbol on how tough you are. What's the latest thing they call it now? They don't call it bling anymore, do they? They don't call it bling anymore, do they?
Swag.
Swag. They call it swag. Yeah, I see. Got to say, you know, hip to the streets, you know. But the more money you have, the more women you have, the more swag you have, the more of a status symbol you have, right? So like, you know, when I go back to Chicago, you know, I gotta strip off Dr. Raheem, you know, I gotta go back to Malik, you know, Brother Malik, you gotta go back to Brother Malik. You can't go walk around talking about, how you doing, I'm Dr. Raheem, you know. They don't want to hear that. They, you know what I'm saying? The young brothers out there, when you're trying to help them, they want to hear, you know, oh, you know, they want to hear about, you know, what kind of swag you got, right? So they want to hear your war, you know, your war story, right? So the thing about it is this: in order to get a status among black men, is how exploitive you are toward women. So the thing about it is this: the more women you have, the better you are, right? The prettier the woman is, like I said before, like what, broken black male code, to let y'all know. But you know what I'm saying? They don't see your because like they'll let you go. Your friends don't say, oh, I have a nephew. I'm still checking for blood tests. But the frustration that comes over from the lack of power and the oppression in their lives as far as black men, they project it off to their woman. So a lot of the frustration is displaced